The crash is coming. Listings are going to explode. The missing supply is coming. People are going to start listing their homes because rates are falling, and you guys are just going to dwarf demand.
Based on what?
So I know it makes a better YouTube video if you make a point, I make a counterpoint, and we have a good argument, right? So I wish that was the case. What I have is a derailing argument.
Alrighty, folks, I want to talk about the 2024 housing market with my good friends Dion and Matt, and I am going to attempt to be, let's just call it what it is. I'm going to attempt to be a crash bro.
Oh no.
And see if I could do it, which I'm not sure I can, but I will try. And we'll see what these guys think about 2024. Matt, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. You're not gonna be able to do it though until you put your head up your ass.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. Dion, you're good to go?
I'm looking forward to this.
I really have no idea where this is going, but let's start here. The thing that I am hearing or feeling about 2024, guys, is obviously we've been wrong about 2021 and 2 and 3, but we are going to be right in 2024. The crash is coming. It will be epic. It will be nationwide, because what is going to happen that you guys don't see coming is listings are going to explode. The missing supply is coming. People are going to start listing their homes because rates are falling, and you guys are just going to dwarf demand. What do you guys say to that? We'll go to Matt first.
Based on what?
Dude, this consumer has all this equity. They've got all this credit card debt. They're going to lose their job. The only thing they have that has any value is their house, and they are going to sell it to get liquidity.
Based on what? They get a three. They get a three. They get a three. So if they can do math at all, they should look at what rents are.
Okay. Because
their rent is likely going to be far higher than the mortgage. Unless they're willing to downsize, and we all know how many people are willing to do that. And to go from a house to an apartment. We can look at not only, so we've looked at the rate, we've looked at, okay, so now I'm living in an apartment and I've sold my house. You are one of very few people that was willing to do that and give up your 2.5, 2.75, 3% debt. And you also looked at maybe just getting that 4th bedroom house instead of the 3-bedroom house. Now you want a 4-bedroom house. Bad news. Your payment is going to more than double for 200 extra square feet. If anything, you're going to tap that equity and you're going to build an addition, if anything. So those are just the simple ones that come to the top of my mind that I know a crash bro would understand.
Dion, what say you? Listings are going to explode. People got to sell. People got to raise cash. Liquidity has to go up. A recession, unemployment, all that stuff's coming.
So I know it makes a better YouTube video if you make a point, I make a counterpoint, and we have a good argument, right? So I wish that was the case. What I have is a derailing argument.
Oh, no.
So first, I'm going to dispel a really cool urban myth amongst my friends. So I'm hoping that none of my friends actually watch this video.
Oh, no.
But I have a friend who's very successful, retired with rentals. And in around 2019, I was very successful at 6 figures in rental profit. And I had a lot more people looking to me for advice on real estate. And me and my friend made a bet on whether home prices were going to go up or down in a year. And I had saw them track up in 18, track up in 19. This was before the 2020 events that happened. And I thought, well, it makes sense. Interest rates are kind of up. They'll probably come down a little. I made Matt's call. It's going to come down about 10%. That's what he's saying for like the last year. And Mike, you were calling for flat and I was calling for 10% increase. But at the time, I thought it would go down. So we made a bet that all of our group of friends thought these 2 rich, successful guys made a monumental amount of a bet with money on what the housing thing is. It was $10. We bet $10. So anybody who
big spender
is so disappointed now because they thought we literally exchanged fortunes over this. Because we had the debate several times. But here's my answer to the doomers. In 2018, I purchased rentals. In 2020, I purchased rentals. In 2021, I purchased a rental. 2023, I purchased a rental. The prediction of the housing crash coming, and I can't say this in clearer terms, has 0 impact on my investing strategy. So the problem with debating with the doomer and the crash bros is they want to go, there's going to be a crash, so you should not invest. And I want to go, there's going to be a crash, or there's not going to be a crash, or there's going to be a boom. And it doesn't matter. Find the cash flowing deal, right? It's going to have a good yield. Don't worry if prices crash, because if they do, if people had to sell and they wanted that liquidity and they become the renters that Matt was talking about, won't pay more in rent, they're going to be paying me the rent. Like, that's the best scenario. If there's no crash, I now have a cash flowing asset that is appreciating in a appreciating market, getting principal pay down and all the tax benefits. So that's the frustrating thing when it comes to the crash bros is I don't have a counterpoint. What I have is they are making a moo point. It's like a cow's opinion. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. All right, all right, all right. So I got another one. You have undoubtedly seen the chart that talks about housing being astronomically out of whack to historical norms when you compare price to incomes. Right? I think I saw somewhere where price incomes today are 7x. Take the median home price and the median household income, and it's like 6 or 7x. Historical averages are far closer to 4 or 4.5. Guys, housing market is going to crash because it is simply out of whack. What say you, Matt?
I only care about the payment. I don't care about what the actual asset costs. I mean, if that's what we're looking at, right? It is, they're saying, well, back when rates were 14%, right? And that was 2 or 3x the annual income. And now they're 7x the annual income, but I don't have 14% debt. I have 6.5% debt. So it comes down to the payment. And this is why people are buying newer homes still, is because these guys aren't rookies. These guys aren't morons. I know all the crash bros think they're smarter than everybody. Here's a news flash for you. These CEOs are in their role for a reason. They weren't caught flat-footed. They're saying, hey, when rates are in 7.5 and 8, it's going to be tough for us to sell a $900,000 ranch in an okay neighborhood. So what are we going to do? We're going to use our balance sheet to subsidize that and get you to 5.5. And at 5.5, is there a housing crisis? Nope. Everything's still flying off the shelves at 5.5, even if it's a $900,000 home, because their payment is likely going to be the same as somebody buying a 40-year-old ranch in a not equal neighborhood, and that's not brand new and is going to need maintenance. So what everyone has to understand is it really comes down to the payment. It really comes down to, if I'm living there myself, I'm going to still do other things like house hack. I'm going to buy a house with an ADU. I'm going to think of smarter ways than everybody else to get into that asset, my multifamilies, the 4-3-2-1 strategy. There's 1,000 different ways you can get into an asset that you want to live in where you're not a renter and you're actually making money. The latest title that sadly came across my screen was people are giving up trying to buy. They don't give up in a crash. So you were wrong still. And that's the issue, is the market just is not crashing. It just is not crashing. Yeah. It's not going to crash. It's going to correct. It's not going to crash.
Yeah. So correct. So you and I, just to go back to a bet I think we made over a year ago, you have one more year roughly.
I do.
For 10% drop. So yep. I like my chances of winning that one, but we'll talk about that.
I wouldn't get too cozy. I wouldn't get too cozy. I think the number that's going to it's not going to be the end of the year number, I think, is what's going to get us there. I think that the Fed is going to hold on and not drop rates. I think they're going to flat next quarter or two. And I think that that's going to push us there.
All right, let's see. All right. Dion, any thoughts about this crash bro kind of thought track?
Yeah. So the last one that you mentioned was housing affordability is the worst it's been in forever, right? That was the last crash bro claim that you're using.
Well, to be clear, they can't say affordability because of Matt's point, they didn't use rate. It is income and price. It is two of three variables, which is to Matt's point. So exactly.
So it's income and price. And you actually said that in a video that we did yesterday where you were talking about interest rates are, with a 40-year downtrend. So even if they've doubled, they're still lower than where they were. Mike Zuber, do you ever feel like, as collectively, the three amigos, the REI Avengers with Millennial Mike and everything, we don't have a large enough audience or voice on the internet to go, the crash bros have been calling for a crash in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. And we've been saying, here's all the reasons why it's not going to come, and here's how we're going to invest. That we don't have enough clout on the online for people to pay attention, right? So
Okay.
I feel, and even in our circle, that the statement I'm going to do is me making this claim again. I even made a video about this. I've said this in several videos, but I don't have a big enough audience or clout for people to understand. So I want to bring this in really close and say, so that people can hear.
Ooh.
The affordability index is flawed. We won't have the data for years on who was living where and making what because of remote work being more of an available option now than at any point in our lives. I've gone through, of all the people I know, if I take out truck drivers, because it's an unfair metric, I ran a CDL school. I know a lot of truck drivers. So far, kind of hard to do that remotely. But if you take out the truck drivers that I know, 50% of the humans that I know on the planet, that included, work remotely. And it did. So what it did for me that allowed me to get my last property, because I was paying attention to this, is where the cities are, it's pushed renters out another 35 to 40 minutes because they're only going to the office once or twice a week, but they don't want to buy.
Right.
Because they might be called back to the office. If you get further out from the city, the people that are in a permanent work remotely position can buy or rent homes significantly higher than what the area average income or even medium or even the mode is for income in that area.
Agreed.
And so anytime we see data that says housing is unaffordable, I'm going to say, based on what metric? I'll take it from Hartman. Is it Jason Hartman?
Yeah.
Compared to what?
Yeah.
It's brilliant stuff. Compared to what? It's not affordable compared to whose income with remote work. And think about how many remote jobs right now that you can just go online and find that pay $24 an hour. Now move to Tennessee. Now move to outside of Phoenix and Arizona. And what does $24 an hour get you? A lot more than it does in Washington State, a lot more than it does in California. And so when they say housing is unaffordable, I'm going to say it absolutely is where most people want to live. But now you don't have to live where the work is because you could take the work with you.
Yeah. Matt, I know you got to get going, so we'll do this last one and do it quickly. The last thing I will say is the economy is going to collapse. We're going to have the next Great Depression. Unemployment's going to spike to over 10%, and the world is going to end. Housing must come down.
Okay. Housing going down makes no difference to my payment whatsoever. The payment stays the same. The only thing that the three of us all encourage people to do is be diversified. Be diversified within the assets that you own, within the tenant bases that you pull from, and within the areas that you pull from. Dion takes it to an extreme, because he is a truck driver and a 45-minute drive to him is like walking to the kitchen. And so it's not a big deal. And so for me, I'm more densely populated, but I pull from 6 different tenant pools, Section 8 and retirees and people that work on a base and people that work in a shipyard and people that work for municipalities and students and then market renters. So I have 6 different pools of people that I pull from. So at the end of the day, if any one of those pools gets hit particularly hard, I'm still going to be just fine. But it's what I talked about on my live stream this last Sunday. I told everybody, I said, listen, if you think there's no pain coming, you're wrong. If you think there's some pain coming, there is. Just be prepared for some pain. Make sure that you have a little bit more in reserves than you used to have. Make sure that you can sleep at night. And the way that you sleep at night is, you know what? We didn't buy that next property, but we still have 25 grand sitting there just in case. And that makes us sleep at night better. Okay. Then that's not a bad use of it. That's a good use of it. This is supposed to be a journey. It's hard work, but it's also supposed to not keep you up at night. And I would tell you that if it's keeping you up at night, here's the thing. You're probably running too close to the edge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Matt, I know you got to jump for that, thing that people call work. So before we go to Dion, where can they find? Oh, that's good. Where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and on Instagram, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays. We chat it up.
Very cool, man. If you got to bounce, go ahead. We'll go to Dion next.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you. All right, Dion, the world's going to end. Economy's collapsing, 10% unemployment or worse. What say you?
So let's follow that train of logic. The idea being, if the economy goes bad, unemployment spikes, the claim that home prices would come down has to be because there's increased inventory, which means that the people who lost their jobs are no longer able to pay their mortgage. So they're going to move out into a high rent market and sell their house. So now, where do they go? They become renters. And just like in 2010, 2011, that increases demand on the limited supply. So rents will go up. So the position I'd rather be in is the person who owns the rentals, that's going to collect the rent, that's going to have more demand on the rentals, than the person who is making money by selling our lives 1 hour at a time. Because what do you do when nobody's buying? That's why unemployment went up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it completely ignores that the vast majority of people right now, 43% of the homes in the United States don't have a mortgage. So that's a large group of people that aren't going to be doing that. 23% of the people who have mortgages right now are under 3%. 60% are under 4%. 90% are under 5%. They're going to move from a low fixed rate mortgage, even with unemployment, into renting that will cost more.
Yeah.
So we've derailed, I think, every argument that is put up in a new creative way every 2 days for over 3 years now, that gets a lot of views and is making $60,000 to $80,000 a month for the YouTube creator who's talking about the doom and gloom that is stopping people from taking action. I did that video about 2 weeks ago on how Peter Schiff cost my friend $100,000, and how by not listening to Peter Schiff, I doubled $100,000.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I don't think people really understand why. So if you're going to be a doomer and or a crash bro, you are creating content that feeds on a human self-defense mechanism, right? We were scared of, animals eating us and all of that. So we react to fear very differently than other things. And if you want to grow fast on YouTube, the answer is produce fear and doom. I do wonder how long they can do it, because it has to be a toxic world you're living in. Just everything is bad. Everything is bad. It can't be good for your mental health long term, is a guess of mine. But I mean, they never own being wrong. They never apologize. They delete videos instead of keep them up. And yeah, one of the things that we talk about in Three Amigos is you have the hardest job. You've got a bunch of drunk people in the parking lot of a football or a sports stadium, and a lot of them are so drunk and biased they don't even see it anymore. And I've come to the point where I just ignore, block, and delete those people. I don't need them in my world, but I'm happy that somebody is out there trying to help them, and that is you, Dion. Any closing thoughts, and where can people find you?
Well, the way to wrap up with the doomers out there is to remember, when you're looking at a YouTube channel, understand the concept that if you want to help yourself, the content creator wants to help themselves, they tell people what they want to hear.
Yep.
But if you want to help the people that are watching, you tell them the truth.
Mm.
I'm glad we chose the side of truth, even though it means we're not going to make a lot of money on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is what I would tell folks in the education and finance space. Every video that is watched makes about a penny. So when you see a doomer with a video that did 400,000, 500,000 views, they're making $5,000 to scare the shit out of you. Who wins in that scenario? Yeah, there are doomers making 80 grand a month being purveyors of porn, doom porn. Dion, you're amazing, buddy. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Uber. Ciao.